Okay, we just press the call button. So if those who listen to this a little bit later, then we're just going to begin. Krishna's just finished a section now, describing to Arjuna Atma Tattva. Now he's going to speak, trying to invoke the Kshatriya spirit within Arjuna. So that brings us then to text 31. So Namo Om Vishnu Bhattaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachaline Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Pashtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. So I had my camera off there. Okay. So yes, Maulawanga, go ahead, please. Text 31.
Text 31. Swadharma napi javeksya navikam vitam arhasi dharmad diyudaktrayo yat ksatriyasya na vidyate. Considering your specific duty as a kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Out of the 4 orders of social administration, the second order, or for the matter of good administration, is called kshatriya. Kshat means hurt. One who gives protection from harm is called kshatriya. Trayate, to give protection. The ksatriyas are trained for killing in the forest. A kshatriya would go to the forest and challenge a tiger face to face and fight with that tiger with his sword. When the tiger was killed, it would be offered to the royal order of cremation. It would be offered the royal order of cremation. This system has been followed even up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of Jaipur state. The Kshatriyas are especially trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the order of sannyas or renunciation. Nonviolence in politics will be a diplomacy, but it is never a factor or a principle. In the religious law books, it is stated. Shall I skip that?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the battlefield, a king or kshatriya, while fighting another king, envisions of him,
envious of
him, is eligible for achieving the heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets by sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principles and killing animals in the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence, because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animal sacrifice gets a human life immediately without undergoing the gradual evolutionary process from one form to another, and the Kshatriyas killed on the battlefield also attain the heavenly planets, as do the Brahmanas who attain them by offering sacrifice. There are 2 kinds of swadharmas, specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily concept of life, there are specific duties for the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. Swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in the 4th chapter. On the bodily plane, Swadharma is called Varnashram Dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of Varnashram Dharma, or specific duties in terms of the specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one's specific duty in any field of action in accordance with orders of the higher authorities serves to elevate one to a higher status of life.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, so in the previous section, as just mentioned, Krishna's using Gyan to induce Arjuna to fight. But now what's been spoken of is it's less elevated. So it's based on material reward. That's what's mentioned here. Yeah, so Kshatriyas, they can, if they fight, then they attain the heavenly realms. So different level of advice that Krishna is giving here. But any questions on this? Curiosities?
Here, here Krishna is praising the violence. And Prabhupada says that, well, it's acceptable to have violence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the principle which we should be very clear on. We are not essentially pacifists. So we don't wish anyone harm, but the higher principle for us is Bhagavad Dharma. So if Krishna is instructing us to heal, then we are obliged to follow that instruction, especially for Kshatriyas. So that's the highest principle for us, is following Krishna's direction. It's called Bhagavad Dharma. So otherwise we are, you know, Hare Krishnas hopefully are known by most people for being peaceful, for being peaceful. But actually, if Krishna is asking Arjuna to fight, so obviously we're not, don't fit the complete definition of a pacifist. Yeah, so as we have read before, sometimes violence is necessary or force is necessary. That's why we have the police force, you know, police force. Sometimes the police have the force in order to maintain law and order. So in the same way, this is what Krishna is doing, and he needs Arjuna to help him in this task. So yeah, non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy. Non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy, but is never a factor or principle. Okay. So they may adopt non-violence, like I think Prabhupada here, and he says non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy. Who is he referring to here, do you think? What instance in history, and who is he referring to? Someone who used non-violence as a diplomacy.
Gandhi.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We could say Prabhupada is directly, well, not directly, kind of indirectly, but I would say Prabhupada is referring to Gandhi's non-violent movement. He said, well, Prabhupada wrote this Bhagavad Gita when, isn't it? He did this Bhagavad Gita when he was in the West, isn't it? But he did write one translation, but it got stolen. But anyway, so non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy. So that's, I would say, that's he's referring to Gandhi's non-violent movement in order to out the British. So interesting, he was killed by violence by his own countrymen. That's kind of ironic. But actually, Prabhupada's saying in the law books in the Vedas, it's a principle. It's a principle, and there's a whole varna of there's a whole varna which is dedicated to maintaining or to enforcing, onto using force in order to maintain a peaceful, relatively peaceful civilization. Yeah, does that help, Mother Rajkishore? Was that the point you was mentioning? It seems contradictory. Can you hear? But she's.
Yes, thank you very much. I was muted, so.
Okay, no problem. Yes, so yeah. Yes, and again, I think I've mentioned this before. We should understand that the Kshatriyas here, they're in no doubts about their destination if they fight fearlessly on the battlefield, if they are to die. It's not as if it's a discussion or whether it's true or not. For one, there's definitely no discussion whether the soul, well, actually, there might be some Charvaka followers or atheistic followers, which was even present then. But generally, everyone would have there was no discussion about whether reincarnation is true or not. They just didn't even speak about it because it's considered an axiomatic truth. Like, will the sun rise tomorrow? There's no discussion on that because we all know it's going to rise. So in this culture at this time, these warriors, they're all very familiar with their religious duty of fighting and what will be the result. Yeah. So for them, like it's mentioned, for the Kshatriyas, their fighting is like the Brahmins performing fire sacrifice. Yeah. There is no, just like for the Brahmins, there's no sinful reactions if they engage in yagna. For the Kshatriyas, there's no sinful actions, there's no sinful activities if they engage in the dharma of their varna, which means fighting. There is no sin. And if they die, they will go to heaven. Go to heaven in a little rowboat. As the song says.
No, but that's only if they fight on a dharmic principle. The principle of dharma they fight, then they go. But if they fight unnecessarily, like what they do in India now, unnecessarily, I don't think they go.
No, let's forget about now. It's a complete mess. None of them are fighting based on religious principles. They're fighting on greed, just to accumulate more wealth and more power. They're not fighting they're not fighting to establish dharma. We should be very clear on that. Yeah. Yeah, something else I was going to say, but just pass on mind. Yeah. And everyone understood what it means by swadharma? The last paragraph. Yeah, we will have specific duties. Some are in relationship to our position in varna, in other words, to our body, to our specific social status, whatever it may be. And then there's also swadharma, which means the specific duties in regard to our constitutional spiritual position. So there's another purport where Prabhupada says sometimes these overlap. So sometimes one's spiritual dharmic, intrinsic spiritual dharmic duties of, for instance, cultivating Krishna consciousness, sometimes it may go against or it may clash with our material duties or vice versa. Yeah, sometimes we may have that. Yeah, anyway, Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions about that? Swadharma. Just read this again to make sure I'm saying the right thing. When one is liberated, one's swadharma, specific duty, becomes spiritual, okay, and is not immaterial bodily concept. Yeah, so there's two types of swadharma. One's in relationship to the body, and one's in relationship to us as being eternal servants of Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, yes.
Yes, Prabhu, here the Swadharma we are saying can we relate to this our duties, yeah? Because this is the Mahaprabhu was instructing Kurma Brahmana. Can we connect with that?
Specific, what's he instructing the Kurma Brahmana to chant the holy name, or?
Because he wants to know. Kurma Brahmana got very much attracted with Mahaprabhu. He wants to go with him. He said, no, you're a grasta. You sit down, you do your duties.
Yes, Sthanestita. You just
Yeah.
stay where you are and you cultivate Krishna consciousness.
Krishna consciousness, yeah, you preach.
Yeah, you could say that. You could say that. Yeah, he wanted to transcend his material swadharma.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted, but Lord Chaitanya advised him, no, set the example, Sthanestita, and you stay where you are and you chant the holy name. Yeah, great, very, yeah. nicely pointed out. Yeah, you could use that as a nice example of someone who wanted to, drop all their material duties and just concentrate solely on the spiritual duties. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, nice example. All right, should we read another verse? Let's look who's got the hand up out there. Anyone would like to read the next verse? I can't see any hands there. Let's see.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes,
Text 32?
32.
Yeah, okay. Hare Krishna. Yada cha kapakananam sargadaram aparvatam sukhina kshatriya paratha labhyante yudam idrisham. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. As supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna, who said, I do not find any good in this fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell. Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Parasara Smriti, or religious codes made by Parasara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated, the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of, Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus with religious principles, he should rule over the world. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom, and if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case.
Okay, thank you, Mo. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Any questions on this? Yeah, just like we Prabhupada would often bring up the draft when he was at the time of the Vietnam War. Prabhupada would criticize often the draft process. In other words, you're drafting persons into battle who are not Kshatriyas, yeah, with disastrous effects. What's it called? This I always forget it. Post-traumatic disorder. Was it PTD? Where they would be exposed to the edge of death and see death and meet and have near-death experiences, and that would completely terrify them and would affect them for the rest of their life. We would hear, you hear such things, isn't it? But I mentioned this before as well. I know I always bring it up somewhere, but there was no, for those Kshatriyas who were fighting at the battle, well, I guess most of them died, but for the handful that was left, they definitely didn't feel any post-traumatic stress disorder, except feeling like Yudhishthira was feeling undone and feeling guilty for having the fight which installed him as the emperor. But anyway, another subject. Just like we see also these Putin has drafted lots of ordinary citizens into the war in Ukraine. Again, with these disastrous results, where they're all crying to come back. They all don't want to fight. They get there and they lose their nerve at the first attack, and they want to surrender, and they do surrender willingly anyway, etc., etc. think you get the idea. But so for a ksatriya, for a real ksatriya, to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is a philosophy of fools. It's not the time for speaking about becoming non-violent when you're on the battlefield. No. But it's what Arjuna in his ignorance is saying. Yeah. Anyway, any comments about that?
But even among our devotees, ISKCON devotees, some devotees are kshatriya inclined. If you and if there is a fight going on, if they have to protect a devotee, they jump in without being told. Like when we had this Bombay temple being built and Vrindavan temple, some devotees, they were just kshatriya minded. They didn't like sitting on giving class. But if there was another devotee in trouble, they'll jump.
Yeah, I think
the trouble.
Yeah, that's an observation we can easily make. We see some devotees do have the kshatriya spirit, especially I see devotees who really speak up and become they really speak up and become really driven about wrongs that are done in ISKCON, which rightly so, there are wrongs done, they should be addressed. But some devotees really get into it, becomes their mission in life, They really want, we might say such devotees have a kshatriya spirit. Because kshatriya, as well as being, eager for battle, their kshatriyas have a mood of protecting people, of protecting the citizens, and to fight against injustice. So we see that some devotees, as Maharaj Kishore is pointing out in the Prabhupada's time, perhaps, but even now, some devotees have a brahminical nature. They like to study and teach, and others will have, and sometimes there's a mixture as well. Some devotees will just be happy to do what they're told. They don't want any position. They don't want any, they're more of a simple type, Sudra type, And then we have also devotees who are very excited about making money. Very excited about it. Like there's one, we have a joke in the ashram. There's one devotee in the ashram who perfectly fits a Vaishya mentality, and that's Krishna Keshava. So he has a brahminical side as well, but he's the one to buy the best deals and sort and make the best. If you want to buy a phone or something, all the ashram devotees know to go to him, and he's going to suss out the best deal for the right money. It's just his nature. Yeah, so it's interesting. You can see different natures in devotees. I remember there used to be this anxiety when Mahajuti Maharaj, now he was temple president. This was before Jainitai, and he used to complain that there's too many Brahmins around here. We want some kshatriyas, kshatriyas who are going to take on big projects and expand, and and sometimes he would complain that we had one. Someone looking after the shop, who was, the shopkeeper, and he was very Brahminical. So that manifests in him, that Brahminical tendency manifests in him was, well, whoever walks in the shop and buys something, that's fine. And if no one doesn't come, that's fine. Marjorie used to complain in a joking way, is a bit lighthearted. We want a Vaishya. We don't want a Brahmin in the shop. And then we happened to get someone who's more like a Vaishya in the shop. And I was making all different signs, all different bargains, and changing the shop round. And, they was coming downstairs after the class, inviting everyone up to the shop. There was more the Vaishya type. So I remember it was quite amusing. We had this Brahmin there. Krishna, someone buys something, fair enough. Someone doesn't, fair enough. Krishna's mercy. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Any comments on that? I won't give names away here. Who was the? Actually, I will tell you who the Brahmin was in the shop. That was Gandaki.
And that Prabhu.
He's just sitting there in the shop.
Being honest, he's not really a Brahmana. He works like a Vaishya also, because I remember.
Yeah, now he's got. Yeah, you're right. Perhaps you're right. Now he has got some Vaishya. Anyway, before we go to analyzing devotees.
Why I'm saying, Prabhu, when I walked into the shop, this was in 2011, I was looking at Gauranitai deities. I said, "Oh my God, what's happening? Why are they looking at me?" He immediately told me, maybe they want to come with you. And believe it or not, Prabhu, they are with me now.
All right. All right. I guess I started the conversation this direction. So yeah. Any other questions or comments about this or about the verse? Or
Kshatriya mentality has been criticized. Oh, we don't want to get into that. We don't want to, sometimes, do you want to, what is the line when somebody is really acting correctly, but somebody doesn't, you see it is right, but nobody wants to support it for certain reasons or anything. Well, how could we understand where do we stand when that is happening?
well, okay, it's difficult to say because it sounds like you're speaking about a specific incident.
No,
You're speaking generally?
Yeah, in generally, not a specific incident. Generally, sometimes, I don't know what to say. If you say this also wrong, that also. So
Try your question again.
Yes.
Ask it again.
Kshatriya mentality, if somebody is really talking about something really right, but you see it is right, but then still that's why no, there's no need to point out that, okay, Krishna knows everything and everything will be okay. We just try to put it under the carpet, basically, under the mat, and then just go. And so I just wanted to understand how, because we speak of this conworld, how we are going to move forward. If
I guess there's a specific thing going on now in our society. For instance, in Mayapur. But some things we're just going to have to learn. It seems like we are still in a learning mode of how to deal with different, like you could say, how to deal with different situations and how to react. And I guess, for instance, let's just take, for instance, I guess we might also bring it up, child abuse, or some type of abuse. I think we're learning now that these such things shouldn't be shoved under the carpet. They have to be dealt with straight away, But again, circumstance, let's say in some other type of situation, yeah. So it's not always easy to tell whether we should get involved, whether we should speak up. I'm not speaking about child abuse now. I'm speaking about just other things in general. We're going to do what our nature tells us to do. Generally, we're going to do that. What's right and what's the wrong thing to do? How can I say that? Because it depends on the time, place, and circumstance. Or you might want to, like when things go down in ISKCON, say difficult things go down, then I guess we all do that, is that we like to hear from senior devotees. What is their perspective on it? Before we might draw any conclusions or join one camp or the other, then we want to hear from seniors. So you say we want to hear from learned Brahmins. What is their take on this situation? Yeah. And then we can perhaps take that on. If we're on the fence and we don't know exactly how to react to a specific situation, then we might want to ask senior devotees or hear from senior devotees. Yeah. So I can only answer generally. So generally, that's what we want to do. We want to hear from someone who's perhaps has more wisdom, has more advancement, someone's more advanced and more maturity and more of a deeper grasp of the scripture and its application. So we want to ask from them. Yeah, like I was like my Guru Maharaj gave a 3-hour Zoom conference with his disciples the other couple of weeks ago, all about the incident, Mayapur and all of that, It was very good. 3 hours, just questions and answers and stuff like that. Does that help, Nitai Mata? So like in essence, I'm saying if we don't understand what position to take, then we want to hear from senior devotees. And then we may be more clear of where we stand. We may be clear anyway. That's fine, but we should always want to hear from our guru, isn't it? So the guru, really, we want to ask questions about making advancement in bhava and prema. Sometimes we kind of help ask these other type of questions. Anybody else on this subject, if you can?
I thought because in the devotee community, isn't it that devotees don't want to get involved? They just say, let's just leave it to Krishna. Or you have your own opinion, but you feel, no, let it just happen.
Yeah, so depends what is out. So for most of us, that's going to be the path to follow, because we're not administrators, we're not managing, say, the temple. So that may be the path to follow. If there's something that really, really has come into our kind of, say, has come under our satellite, or something is really, and we're concerned about, then we might just go and mention it to a manager. But generally, yeah, we want to, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, let's just, it's not our service to go around and pointing out and correcting and fault finding, and it doesn't mean we go around like with a ostrich with its head in the sand. We see things and we observe things, but then we, in a mode of goodness, we can bring it up to someone who's in charge of that particular department or that particular area. Like that, so yeah, I mean, that's the job of a manager, like the temple president. They have to be kind of, they have to have their eyes to the ground. What's going on in the temple? Is it right? Is it not? Like the temple commander, Rupanuga Prabhu, he's the one. Like the other day, I was very happy to get told off by him because I was washing my plate in the sink, which is behind the counter in the restaurant in the morning. And yeah, he has the authority. So it was nice. Like, okay, all right. Because I was trying to avoid the queue. So I went and washed up my plate there. So I accepted that. That's and that's his service to observe something like that and to do something about it. Other devotees, it's not their service, so they're not going to say anything. But it's his service to do it.
Plus, I think in any situation, any little thing or whatever, you should always see there's two sides to a coin. You should always listen to two sides in any situation.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes.
in the pujari, somebody comes in, oh, she said this, she did this. Okay, you hear it, listen. Then when you see the other side, why this happened? Why did this one say? Always listen to two sides, and then don't to.
Anyone could say what mode of nature that is what Mother Chandravali is speaking of now? What mode of nature describes what she just explained?
It's passion and ignorance.
Mode of goodness. Oh, I'm not speaking about what's gone wrong, what needs pointing out. I'm speaking about the principle of not reacting, but waiting to hear.
Okay.
Sides of the story.
Like I give you an example. Like this morning,
that's the mode of goodness.
I had one Mataji ring me and she said, well, I did this Wazis and this was complaining. When I was doing, I was told it was really nice. And then there was a big thing. I got a big text message for somebody and said, I shouldn't do it like this. So she went on and on and on. I was thinking, okay, it's nothing to do with me. I was thinking to myself. It's not my. I did suggest to her that she should speak to the head pujari and things like that, and I just said that maybe next time you try and ask the authority how they would want it, like that, instead of like jumping. Yeah, they shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have said this. It's gone wrong. Like that. We have to really be. We have to really think when we're answering.
Yeah, we don't want to fuel their fire, which may be a fire in the wrong place. We want to. Yeah.
Because they're angling to somebody else who's why is she telling me? Is she in the authority? She should be doing this. But I could see the other person had gone through the right channel to be told what to do. But this person was just all upset and.
Yeah, so it's good. Very good. So here's a situation where Mother Chandravali is acting in a mode of goodness and she's diffused someone in a mode of passion. So if Chandravali was in the same mood, yeah, that's not right. Well, then two of them, that would, All right. And so we got into this discussion on different modes of nature, different dharmas, different, spirits. Should we,
I was just thinking this current situation, we should not judge any side, any person, right? We know what's right. We know it within us what's right and wrong, whatever. But we let the higher authority work out what's done and what shouldn't be done, because we should not take part into any actions we ourselves don't know anyway. So
so many details that we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know the details. We don't,
circumstances.
You read both sides, you read, but this one said this and that one said that. Who are we to know anything,
Yeah.
So yes, it's wrong, and the authority will correct things, but we pray for both sides. We pray for everybody.
Yes.
We pray for everybody, even the person who's done something wrong, or the person who's been at the other end. We should pray for both, because it's suffering for both sides. Is suffering. The person who's done wrong in any situation, this material world, Maya comes in, and mode of passion comes in, and you do something. Though you are so intelligent, so Krishna conscious, yet you, for that 1 minute, 5 minutes, you make these mistakes. And then you could kick yourself and think, oh, why did I do this? Why did I say this? But it's done, and the consequences are really bad. But person is not probably, that person knows what is right, that they're upset Prabhupada, but this mode of passion has just come in. So we should pray for that person to help come out of it as well. Not just, when somebody's down, we should not kick them more and more.
Actually, I didn't bring this Kshatriya.
No, I wasn't thinking of that. I was just thinking.
I was not talking about that. I have forgotten that. Oh my God, that's the worst. Last thing I would like to talk, because I know nothing about it. So how will I talk about it? I'm just talking about generally Kshatriya mentality.
Yeah, so like both are valid, both Nitai Mata's point and also Mother Chandravali's point. Yeah, but just to close on this, perhaps this point is that the society as a body does have to put into, or does have to kind of give certain boundaries, or it does have to be seen to be doing the judicial right thing. That's the nature of our society. It has to be there. There has to be some yes, what do you call it? Some notice of perhaps what's it called? Of action. Things happening. There's certain things they can't do for some time. That has to be in place as well. Right. Let's next.
No, Prabhu, I'm just asking. This situation can be to me, to anybody in that way, isn't it, Prabhu? Abuse, no need to be, it's only that one. We can abuse any situation.
Anything can happen to any one of us. Krishna can put a rug out of under our feet at any time.
I was thinking this would be like a, this is like a, what do you call, warning for for
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a wake-up call
yeah,
for everyone.
yeah. That's all, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's edge to number 33. Unless I'm mistaken. Who's out there got their hand up? Yeah, I can't see a hand, so I'm going to jump in for now. Achitet Achitetvam damyam sankramam nakarishase tata sadamam kirtam cha hitvapapama vapsasi. If, however, you do not fight, if, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duties and thus lose your representation, your reputation as a fighter. Purple. Arjuna was a famous fighter, and he attained fame by fighting with many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Pashupatra Astra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Drona Acharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father, Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from the battle. All right. Yes. So interesting how Arjuna is completely convinced of what will happen, or what the best path is. He's completely convinced of what his path should be. Well, he's not completely convinced because he has doubts. He has doubts, and that's what he's asking Krishna. But he's prepared at this point to leave the battlefield. But that will be the worst thing he could possibly do. You know, but that's why it takes the spiritual master. It takes Krishna acting as the spiritual master to Arjuna to wake him up. He actually, in his illusion, he thinks it will be the best thing if he leaves the battlefield. Yeah. But actually, Krishna's waking him up, you know. No, the worst thing you could possibly do is turn your back on this battle. So sometimes it may be like that for us. We may be pretty convinced that our path of action is the right action. But then we should consult with the spiritual master. And then he may give us the complete other direction. You know, that's what spiritual master's for, to keep us in line, to keep us on the right path. It's so easy to go down the wrong path. So sometimes the disciple thinks they're more intelligent than the spiritual master. Yeah, so that's a recipe for disaster. Or sometimes disciple may think, oh, my Guru Maharaj doesn't understand, he doesn't understand about the world, I don't want to, I don't really want to follow what he says, he's not really tuned in, he's not really tuned into what's going on the ground here, he doesn't mean what he says, No. Then one's disobeying the orders of the spiritual master. Even if the directions that the spiritual master gives us causes us to be confused in meaning, how the hell are we going to do that? We have to go forward and follow it and pray, and just go forward and follow the instructions of the spiritual master.
When you said my spiritual master doesn't understand, in the Pujari I heard a senior devotee talking to somebody who was cooking, and he says, they were talking about their spiritual master, and he says, but Guru Maharaj doesn't understand what's happening. I was like, it's such, what do you mean by, and that spiritual master is such a elevated person. I mean, in ISKCON, he's really big, you know. And I was thinking, how could he say that? My spiritual master just look at you. They don't even look at you. You open your mouth and they know the full story of what you're going to ask, what he's going to answer. They know everything. And how many of people?
Well, they know everything that Krishna reveals to them. I mean, they're not omnipresent and they're not omnipotent, but to that degree that they are via mediums, pure via mediums, then to that degree, the direction they're going to be giving them the correct advice of what to do based on intuition coming from the Lord himself, even if they are not aware of all the details of a devotee's spiritual life. They're in a position of empowerment. They're shakshat the Vridvena, in that sense. They are representing Krishna. So as you heard, to like you could say, to discredit or to not have faith in the spiritual, that means one doesn't have faith in the spiritual master's direction. So how's that person going to make any advancement? You know? I mean, it doesn't mean also, I know Tamal Krishnamaj mentioned this, of course, many years ago, but he mentioned that sometimes there can be some negotiation between the disciple and the spiritual master. Sometimes that may be needed. The spiritual master may give an instruction, and you might not be up to following it, or you may not understand it. So some will just follow, some will have to ask some questions. Oh, but Guru Maharaj, this, that. Oh, but Guru Maharaj, what about this? Oh, but Guru Maharaj, what about that? So that's also there as well. The Guru Maharaj may give some different type of instruction based on the information he gets as well. That's also there as well. But the general principle is that we should always follow the spiritual master. Follow what he says.
How many times Prabhupada's disciples used to say, oh, he could see through me. You know, they open their mouth and say, oh, Prabhupada could see through me, you know. Yeah,
that's a common realization. Practically had when they would come in close proximity to Prabhupada. He would look straight through them, know everything about them at the same time, knew everything about them, which means all the bad, but at the same time have a deep sense of compassion for them. That if you hear Prabhupada's memories, one after the other, say the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
But yes, so Arjuna here, he's wants to go in one direction, but he's completely wrong. Yeah, actually, he thinks he's going to be free of sin by leaving the battle. But actually, if he leaves that battlefield, he will be overcome by sin and also be overcome by ridicule, as the next few verses will explain. Everyone will laugh at him. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking like Arjun playing this part for us, like he's a good, but like putting us in that situation, how we read Shastras, we hear so much, and the knowledge is there, yet sometimes the mind would say, I think I should do it like this. I should do things like this.
Yeah.
The mind just goes, and you have to like bring it back and say, look, this is what we read. This is what I heard. You know. Yeah.
That happened to me.
Yeah, because Arjun's just playing the part for us.
What do you say, Maharaj Kishore? Sorry, Michelle.
That's what happened to me. I thought I've got some time, so I can come 2 or 3 times a week to do something, you know, cook sweets or something else. And I decided I'll come 2 times at least. And then I wrote to my Guru Maharaj and I said, I'm going to go to the temple a bit more because my husband can't come. And I got an email yesterday. He said, no, you should be looking after your husband. 1 time a week is enough. The rest of the time, you look after your husband.
Well, there you go. Oh, right. No, that means the schedule. Chandravali does the schedule.
Yeah. So I thought I knew when I could do it and I could decide, but no. Doesn't work then.
So there's a good example that Maharaj Kishore is bringing up, a very good example. Yeah. There's example of this one time as well, that Nrsimhavacha often brings this up, where one Mataji, she had a newborn baby, and she was, I don't know, I forget the details of it, but the fact is she was going to do loads of devotional service, loads of pujari service, and Prabhupada said, no, your main duty is to take care of your child. And if you can't do that, or you're not going to do that, then you can bring him to me and I will take care of him. So like, yeah, so similar to Maharaj Kishore there, yeah, very good example. Yeah.
About duties, but you know, Ramayana, there is Mava Shabri, and she ran away from her wedding because she didn't want the goats to be sacrificed. So what about this, that she actually disobeyed her parents' order will, and she
Say that again. Mava Shaburi, is this a story from Mahabharata or something like that? You explain Ramayana, and she was in the process of being married, is that right?
Yeah, she was in process to be married, but in order to get married, her parents has to sacrifice 1,000 goats, and she didn't want that bloody sacrifice, and she ran away to the forest. And she was wandering in the forest. Everyone was didn't want to accept. She was looking for guru. She was taken guru and Matanga Rishi. By Matanga Rishi. It's a long story, and when Rishis were abusing her terribly after death of Matanga, and say
that again, the Rishis were abusing her?
Yeah, it's a long story, but my question is,
abusing her verbally?
Physically,
verbally for what she had done?
They thrown the stone in her leg, and the blood came into the river. And rishis were very angry with her. They said, you, you made dirty river, and we cannot have our oblations, we cannot wash ourselves. And they were very angry with her, and they were forcing her to do something, and she couldn't. It was a terrible situation for her. But eventually somebody came and said, Rama comes. And when Lord Rama came, he said, he said, I cannot purify. I asked Rama to purify the river because said you are almighty. And he said, no, I can't purify my river. He came in, he washed himself, but he could not purify. He said, I cannot take sins off. You have to do it yourself. You have to go and apologize, my devotee. But my question is about that she disobeyed her, she didn't perform her duty. She left her husband to be, she left her parents, she left everybody. She didn't do her duty, but it's the same like Arjuna, she ran away from her duty.
Yeah, see, again, I always say this, time, place, and circumstance. There is another, I mean, I don't know the whole story, so difficult for me to say, but it just reminds me of an incident in the Bhagavatam where someone disobeyed their spiritual master.
Bali Maharaj.
Yeah, Bali Maharaj disobeyed his spiritual master and gave 3 steps of land to
Vaman.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, so you're going to see these quite dramatic stories in Shastra where there seems to be a turnaround of a duty. But actually, if you hear the story out, then you can see more clearly why that happened in that way. But if you just look at the specific, if you just like
to glorify
look at one specific incident and you don't have like a helicopter idea of the whole story, then we may get confused. As it sounds like this story of Mother Shabara, if that's the name, forget it. Yeah, it sounds like eventually she gets the mercy of Lord Ram. Is that right? Or
Sabri.
Yes.
The story is in Ramayana. The story is in Ramayana. Shabri was a young girl and her marriage was arranged. And she didn't like the killing. So she ran away from home and she went to Matanga Rishi near Pampa Sarovar.
Yeah.
And Matanga Rishi said, okay, stay with me. The rest of the disciples were not happy, but Matanga Rishi accepted her as a disciple and she had to stay, and she had to wait for something like 18,000 years before Lord Ramchandra came and gave her the salvation.
Yeah, so that's why so there's a specific story there. So that's why we have to, okay, we can hear stories from Sastra, we can hear what happened in this situation, what happened in that situation, and we may face a similar situation and then decide, oh, I should do according to that story, but we might be wrong, so we have to check. You know, we might be wrong, even though someone else faced this same situation and then they acted like this, but that might not be the right thing for us to do according to time and circumstance. So we would want to check that, you know, with the guru, with the Brahmins, with the devotees. So it's very interesting, isn't it? It's said like the more you analyze, like Dharma is like the more you analyze it, then the finer it gets. It's just like if you get dust and you grind it between two stones, it gets finer and finer. So again, like, yeah, so Jamavati is bringing up this story of Mother Shabada. So then can we apply that story in our own personal life, some part of it, and then act accordingly? Well, maybe yes, but maybe no. We want to find out from the Guru. Yeah. That's why Guru is important in our life, you know. Yeah, Mother Vajkashore brought a very good example. Yeah. Very good example there where she's been instructed now to make sure that Bhagavananda is taken care of. That's her duty. The prime duty, because he's a devotee as well. Not just he's not an ordinary devotee as well. He must be, I think he must be one of the most pious persons I've ever met in my life, you know. He's such a kind-hearted person, such a wonderful soul. So yeah, she can, you know, she's got the, yeah, she's going to be serving a great devotee. All right. It's crept past 7 o'clock again. I'm sorry. Time flies.
Prabhu, I have a question, but nothing to do with this Bhagavad Gita. A quick question. Can I ask, please?
Let's ask the assembled Vaishnavis. Shall we allow Mother Padma to ask this question?
Go for it.
Go for it.
I think that it's quick and simple.
Shall we stop the recording?
Oh, yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah, you better stop the recording. It might be one of those questions.
Yeah.
It's up to me to stop the recording, isn't it? Okay, now ask the question again. It's a question which doesn't need to be, which can be recorded.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Prabhu. Oh my God, what is it? Okay, Agatha Sukriti is no Ayatuki Bhakti. Is it coming from Agatha Sukriti? It can come like that because am I clear, Prabhu? Sorry.
No, well, the Agata Sukriti, like unknowing devotional activities, generally will tip the scales, and at some point we will become attracted to devotees and devotional principles.
So is it Ayatuki Bhakti then?
No, Ahoituki Bhakti means it is unmotivated. So that will take some, that will come from the practice, then will come purity of heart, and then learning the principles of pure devotion and freeing oneself from material desire. Then Ahoituki Bhakti, which means unmotivated. So that may not be there in the beginning stages. We may be quite motivated. Kato Vida Bhajanti Mam. So Agata Sukriti leads to the path of bhakti, but the development of the higher stages of bhakti takes association and practice and knowledge and requisite knowledge as well.
So that is not immediately Ayatuki Bhakti, yeah? Correct?
No, it's not immediate.
Okay.
Purification has to come.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Nice question. Thank you, Mother. Okay, let's stop there. And today is we are Tuesday. What's the day today? Wednesday. So tomorrow we have Bhagavatamrita, I think. So please, if you have time, please join us for that. We're reading at the same time, 6 to 7. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us. Hare Krishna, wish everyone the best. Panchakalvatrubhascha Kripasindavivacha
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.